Salutations, dear audience. Prepare to be inspired and empowered as we delve into the realm of business triumph on Elevate Your Business. I'm Ed Jarecki, your host for today's enlightening episode. Thank you for being a part of this enriching experience. Our show is dedicated to enlightening and equipping business owners, professionals, and aspiring entrepreneurs like you with essential knowledge and insights from experts who have achieved success in their life and business. Today's guest exemplifies this mission. So make yourself comfortable, unwind, and let's extend a hearty greeting to our incredible guest today, Chris Seveney. Chris is a CEO and co-founder of Seveney Investments. With over a quarter century of real estate experience, Chris is a seasoned expert in the field, particularly in the niche of mortgage note investing. His journey with Seveney Investments began in 2016, and since then he has built an impressive portfolio of over 500 mortgage notes with an unpaid balance exceeding $25 million across various states. Chris's commitment to honesty, integrity, and professionalism is a bedrock of Seveney Investments. His passion for real estate and dedication to setting industry standards for excellence have made him a trusted leader and a respected figure among his peers. As Chris joins us on the show, he'll shed light on what success means to him personally and how his definition has evolved over time, as well as one or two of his top challenges and the associated lessons learned. And finally, for today, we'll explore how Chris has leveraged innovation in his business and other work to overcome challenges and achieve his goals. So join me in welcoming Chris Seveney as we embark on another incredible episode of Elevate Your Business. And without further ado, welcome to the show, Chris. It's great to see you again. How are you doing?
Good, Ed. Pumped to be here today. Excited. And it's mentioned quarter century. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, I still remember walking into my first day of work many years ago. Oh, just like it was yesterday.
Things have changed a little bit over that period of time, haven't they?
Yeah, things, yes, have definitely changed since that time.
1999, yeah. A lot of memories. To
Yep.
start with, would you mind sharing a little bit more about your business and yourself?
Yeah. So again, thank you for having me on today. Started Seveney Investments in 2016 and note the play on words of my last name. And how I got started with Seveney was I was working a W-2 job, and my boss at the time was joking with me about, being a 40-40-40 club member, which is you work 40 years, 40 hours a week to get 40% of your income. And during that time, I also, right around that time, had a health scare. And then it made me open my eyes of, A, do I love what I do? Which I really liked it and maybe loved it, but could I love it more? And could I provide better for me or live the life that I wanted to? And like we talk about defining success later, really, what did that mean to me? So in 2016, I started 7E and later brought my co-founder, Lauren, as well, who helped me really scale the company to where it was today. But started it as a mortgage note company, which most people don't understand what mortgage notes is, which I'll just say is we buy defaulted mortgages from banks. And forget what you think about 2008 because it's very different today. But we buy defaulted loans to get people to rework their payments and keep them in their home. So we like to say we fix and flip mortgages.
Wow.
Now, started with one, and that one kept snowballing to a few more, and then got to a point where I was doing better at my quote unquote side hustle than I was sitting in a corner office, top floor W-2 job, and decided time to make the leap. And I did several years ago to really take 7E and bring it to that next level.
Outstanding journey. You started to talk about this a bit, and that's your definition of success today. How would you define success today?
Success today for me is living the life I want to live. For example, the other day, my son came home from school and finished his homework and is like, Dad, can you play with me on the computer? And I said, you know what? I have no meetings. Yes, I can. Being able to do that. Or earlier today, just getting up, it's beautiful outside, going for a walk. How many people can say they can just get up and go for a walk during the day, or they can pause their day to go play a game with their kid or do something with the family? So for me, I define success by living the life I want today. And I'll be the first to say success has changed over many years for me. What it meant 10, 15 years ago was more financially dependent of how most people define success. But today, that's not at all how I define it.
And he's already started to answer that second question is
Mhm.
how has it evolved over time? So you had a
Mhm.
financial focus. Anything else you want to share about
Mhm.
how your definition has evolved?
Yeah, like I said, it started, and I'm going to go back to graduating college. When I graduated college, started my first job, success was always how much money could I make? Then it was like, okay, how much could I get for a raise? How much more? And I was always chasing a number. And the reality is, when is enough? When do you get to a point where it's enough? And I talk to people today and they're like, I want to get to 5 million net worth. I want to get to $10 million net worth. I want to buy a plane. And for me, I can pay my bills. I can sleep comfortably knowing I've got stuff covered. But success, like we said, is now that time. And it's not because I've hit those financial goals. It's I just realized those financial goals aren't what make you happy.
Right.
It's being able to spend time with my wife, being able to spend time with my kids, going on a vacation. What memories do you remember in life? Do you remember that vacation that you had? Or do you remember buying a big screen TV or that car that you end up having for 3 years and basically traded in anyways? Yeah, I remember the car, but I would much rather go back on those vacations that I had and those experiences. And for me, I think I probably was a little late learning it, but where I'm at today, I can say, okay, I have learned it.
And I share much similarity in that journey. Started out power, money. How do I climb the ladder focus?
Yeah.
And it's interesting. What do you think was that inflection point moving from that achievement, career achievement mindset
Mhm.
to the
Mhm.
balanced mindset of it's really about the combination? It's enjoying the journey, it's enjoying
Mhm.
family, being able to do what
Mhm.
you want. Any thoughts?
Yeah, and I mean, kind of smacks me right in the face. Like I mentioned, there was a prior health scare, but for me, it really was when my father passed away.
Hmm.
He passed away at 68 years old, and he retired young. He retired when he was 60, but he retired actually because he was sick. And he was not able to enjoy the latter part of his life. He was sick for 8 years of his life. And he was the type of person that worked hard, went to work every day, rarely, if ever, took a sick day. He was in the school system. He worked his way from a teacher up to the superintendent of schools. And I looked at it from he started at the bottom, worked his way to the top. And that's what I want to do. And then realize, great, I get to that level, which I was. I was, again, sitting in a corner office, quote unquote, loving life, and then realizing he didn't get to enjoy it. And again, they took vacations and did things, but I don't want to be that person that just is always focused on money or possessions. I want to make sure I'm living life to the fullest and enjoying it because I saw that tomorrow is not promised to you. So because of that, do what you want to do today and make sure talk to your loved ones and make sure that they are the priority.
I love that sentiment. I think that's outstanding. And I think many of us go through that inflection point where we come to that realization. And your point that tomorrow is not promised to us. I'm going to remember that one because I think that's a great.
Mhm.
And so you've already alluded to this, but what are one or two of the key challenges that you've had to overcome as part of your business experience
Mhm.
and the lessons learned associated with those?
Ooh, lessons learned always hit you the hardest. We can all say that. For me, the lessons that I take away is I'm extremely competitive. And that can be a detriment to you as a leader or business owner. And a lot of people think, oh, well, I want to be like Michael Jordan, competitive and conquer and so forth. Look what that did to teammates around him. It's cast some shadows, maybe not people not wanting to work with that person. For me, it was that drive of constantly trying to win. And how do you define winning? And if winning at the time was, I want to either make more money or get a higher position or get my business further or start a business, what was I forgetting? People who meant the most to me, whether it's my
Yeah.
family or even some of your coworkers who are along for that journey. And we have conversations all the time with that push and pull with my co-founder or my team. It's, hey, look, sometimes you can't just push them over the edge or you can't just pull and drag them. It's got to be that fine balance, make sure that stays in alignment. And being somebody who is ultra competitive, sometimes that's a struggle of making sure that you're not putting on too much gas or then slamming on the brake.
I think that's a great point. Any other lessons learned you'd like to share?
The other I would say is no matter what it is in life, nothing comes easy. And there's a saying out there, life is hard, choose your hard. The one thing that lesson I've learned is if you stay consistent with it, it doesn't happen overnight, but you will see success. And for people who want to lose weight, as an example, because that's probably the easiest example out there. If you do get up in the morning, you go do that workout, you do eat that healthy, you will see results. It's the same thing with business. You keep pushing and working consistently and doing what's right. Starting a business is hard. You will struggle, but you just keep going through and doing the right things, and you will have that breakthrough. Then, when you have that breakthrough, enjoy it. Don't go back to, oh, now I have that next breakthrough. Take what you've accomplished, and this is one thing we do as a company, is we set quarterly goals, and then we don't look at also, oh, we missed these two. It's look at what we've accomplished over the last quarter or the last year. Now, we started our latest fund in July of 2022. And then when we wrapped up the year, basically in 2022, we're about a $6 million company. And then the end of 2023, we're a 20 plus million dollar company. And it's like, I could have looked at, oh, we were trying to get to 25. Oh, we didn't hit any of our goals. Well, we've more than tripled the size of our company in that year. So to me, that's a huge win.
Yeah, absolutely. It is tough though, as with that competitive mindset
Mhm.
to take that and reflect and not
Yeah.
spend a lot of time focusing on what you couldn't do, what you didn't
Mhm.
do, but celebrating those successes. That's a very different mindset from the 1990s when I remember first entering the true
Mhm.
business and professional world. Failure was not an option at that time. And today we reflect on it, we learn from it, we move forward, we celebrate successes. And so I think the general acceptance of that approach is so much more embedded into cultures today, but still a ways to go. Any thoughts around that?
Yeah, no, agree wholeheartedly. And that's, again, another struggle of the work environment of like the 90s and 2000s. And I came from the real estate construction background, extremely cutthroat. Literally, front door was a turnstile at some companies because employees were numbers and they would chew you up, spit you out, and just bring the next person in. And today, executive teams should realize your people are your most important asset.
Yeah.
And not only is it kind of like you mentioned, it's hard for that type A person, but if you surround people who have the same goal as you and understand and you're willing to take feedback from them, that's where you become a better person because that allows them to give you that feedback and be unfiltered feedback where they're not afraid to talk to you about that, which makes you a better person. Because I can tell you back in the 90s in the company I work for, there's not a snowball's chance where I would ever go to one of my supervisors and say, I think you need to improve upon this, or I think you should do this. They basically say like, okay, can I have your key access card? And it's nice working with you. So, understanding that a lot has changed over time, but it goes back to today, I think more important. I was a type of person too who was a solopreneur. I was like, I can do everything. I tried to do everything. And when I brought on Lauren, my co-founder, realized she does everything that I don't want to do, and I do everything she doesn't want to do. And it was like, wow, this is a match made in heaven from a business perspective because both have the same goal and interests aligned, but we're just very different. And my strengths are her weaknesses, and her strengths are my weaknesses.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome balance. So, from an innovation perspective, how are you leveraging innovation to drive your business?
Oh, I love innovation. I really do. And for me, I nerd out some evenings like, what can we do to continue to innovate? And for example, Chat GPT or AI is, of course, what everyone's talking about today, which the reality of it is it's been around forever. I've had a call with somebody that joking, I'm like, what do you think sports betting is? It's AI. It's a model who's predicting based off of thousands of results what they think is going to happen, But for us, where we like to innovate is, and people are like, oh, I'll use it to help me write a blog post or an article. No, we're a Microsoft-based company, but with Copilot and some of the things like our accounting system is with Microsoft, and we involve with defaulted debt, we can use it to do further analysis on our portfolios for historical norms of borrower payments, running models based off of that type of sequence of what's going on. We can automate certain things that are more task generated or monotonous tasks that we can now, hey, in the past, maybe it was a virtual assistant or a lower level person who would run some of those tasks. If you can automate that component to it and then give them, again, there's always going to be a human element. I truly believe that. And that's what separates businesses, especially for what we do, where we have investors and we have investor relations team. One of the things that we focus on heavily in-house is being able to spend the time to answer questions. And by doing that and using innovation to take some of those other tasks, and here's a perfect example. We have 600 plus investors, and every person says, that is insane that you have that many investors. I said, well, really? 5 years ago, when I had 20 investors, to get them their distributions, it was a painful process. I'd have to go in the bank system and initiate an ACH or bill pay check or whatnot. Today, with the technology, they fill out the forms in the system. We click one button, it populates what's the distribution for the month, sends it over to Chase. I log in, have to do the two-factor thing, which drives everyone nuts. But do that, and you always put the wrong code in. But once I do that, I hit a button and boom, they're gone. So it makes efficiency so much better, allow people to focus on the important tasks. And that's what we try and do is we don't innovate just to say we're innovating. We innovate to be better.
Yeah, I think that's outstanding. Any thoughts on where technology is going into the future for you and your business?
Oh, I was gonna say, if you want to get off topic with my business, I have a good friend who works with the Defense Advanced Research Project. So we could just go off on everything with 6 gigahertz frequencies and stuff. But for our business, again, I think taking goes to financial modeling and still using human element to review a lot of things that we do, but basically using some of this automation to look at historical data much easier. And again, that can still be done today. It's just a lot more work. I think that's simplifying a lot of those processes to plug in some of that information that might have to have been done with the human right now, where if it can get 80% of the legwork to allow me to do the last 20%, I see that as one major impact. And it's just continuing for us that investor relations side of things, where one of the challenges a lot of times with people is how difficult is it to invest with somebody? And again, previously you'd have to have forms signed and then you'd have to print them out, sign them, mail them in. Now, again, with DocuSign and everything else, it's all done electronically, but those systems still, even though there's APIs and everything out there, really not interconnected. It's still multi-process step. I continue to see everything going into the realm of allowing a lot more usability and ease to implement things, even streamline a lot of those processes even quicker.
Yeah, so intuitive, easy to use, end-to-end seamless processes,
Yeah.
respective of each one of your businesses and the associated service lines in which you're offering. That a
Yep.
fair way to summarize that?
Yes, it is.
And so you'd mentioned a little bit about some of those incredible technologies that are coming. Do you want to spend a minute kind of talking about one or two of those?
Microsoft Copilot is, for example, right now interconnects everything within the Microsoft realm, and it's consistently seeing improvements in regards to, again, simple things like the email management or being able to take data tables and ask it to do something and have it, instead of somebody go watch a YouTube video reminding me how to run an if and formula in Excel, basically, hey, this is what we want, and it calculates it. That I think is extremely important. And then even things like on the podcasting side of things and on the marketing side of things, the amount of ease to allow marketing efforts and crazy stuff of, getting on an interview and using a virtual voice that sounds like a human to ask you questions, is some of the things that are out there. Trying to think of Opus Clip, for example, can take this podcast and cut it into 15 short clip videos to promote things. And as a small business, when you look at 5 years ago, you would basically be sitting there on a Sunday morning, even trying to figure out, how do I even do this? What software do I use? Or I gotta go pay this program $300. Or you look at how far that has come, where now I can pay $10 a month, upload a video, and boom, it spits it out for me. Now I don't have to have a marketing coordinator on my payroll or pay somebody part-time. Again, some companies absolutely still need that, but just the efficiency and the innovation that it provides in certain things. And we even see it kind of going back to that Microsoft, where they just came out with something called Loop, which we used to use OneNote, but Loop kind of just interconnects. It's basically a loop within Microsoft where it's OneNote, but you can just connect everything, Excel, Word. And if you update your meeting notes in the Outlook calendar invite, it updates it everywhere, because that's one thing. It's like, oh, what's this meeting about? You look at the meeting minutes and then, okay, you make some notes, and then you go an hour before and they're different. Well, somebody updated them, but you didn't know. Now they're updated in every single platform. So just the cross transformation of information that's available. And again, I'm a little passionate about this, so I get excited because
Absolutely.
it's something that is out there that for any business owner, you don't need to understand it fully, but it's something you're gonna have to embrace and get somebody internally to explain this to you, because companies that still operate as they did in the 90s are just going to get left behind.
100% agreed. And I love what Microsoft is doing, Google is doing. A lot of them are really expanding across their products the
Mhm.
capability to embed this seamless end-to-end automation.
Mhm.
And I always use seamless, intuitive, and easy to use because each one of those words, those phrases have a slightly different connotation. But from a
Mhm.
user perspective, to enable what you're talking about, they need to be thinking about that. And I think they are. I do
Mhm.
think one of the bigger challenges, and it's another step in the evolution as we continue to march forward down this biz tech path, is the cross-platform integrations. Microsoft is trying to make Microsoft the end all be all.
Yep.
Um, Microsoft will never be the end all be all because Google's trying to do the same thing,
Yep.
and there are other platforms trying to do the same thing. And
Mhm.
so at some point, end to end seamless, what's that mean for us? We need to
Mhm.
be able to plug in the solutions that fit our business, irrespective of what some of these platform offerings are. So I see a lot of changes in our future. And if it's any indication, I've been reading articles lately that by 2025, we're going to see passenger drones carrying people. So flying cars
Mhm.
is on its way. And there are more cities and countries out there that are putting laws and starting to enable that kind. And I mentioned that it's not directly in line with what we're talking about it, but it is indicative of the massive change that's out there in front of us.
It's massive. And for anybody who's a business owner, entrepreneur, one thing that I would recommend people is kind of that last thing that you mentioned of ease of use. Don't just get a technology because you think it's cool, because if it's causing a lot more work for your company, then it's not really benefiting. It's cool that you can say you use it, just like, hey, I've got a flying car. But if I can't, like, I live in the Washington, D.C. area. Hey, I'm going to go buy a really cool drone. Well, guess what? I can say I have a really cool drone, but I can't do anything with it because they got chips in them that where we live, you can't fly them. They won't work. So you want to make sure what it is you're doing is what's best for your company, not just check a box that say, oh, I'm doing this because I want to advance. It needs to be easy to use. Smart decision.
So just don't succumb to the shiny object syndrome. Is that what you're saying?
That is exactly what I'm saying. And I'm typically the person who's always running around chasing those shiny objects. I joke that my title at work is the chief squirrel officer, because I'm always a squirrel chasing the shiny object, and they're always ones reeling me in.
That's funny because I have that tendency myself. So, as a final takeaway for our audience, what do you have?
So, talked a lot about finding success and business and ease of things. For me, what I would just let people go with is it's a privilege to be listening to this. It's a privilege to get up and be able to walk out your door. It's a privilege to have a significant loved one next to you. So just understand that life is short and make the most of it. So that's the one thing. Most people have a fear of what could go wrong in life if they try and push the norms. And what kind of pushed me over the edge was when somebody mentioned to me when I was debating, okay, do you leave your W-2? Do you go for it? Do you start your own company? And the person asked me, they go, you love your wife? And I'm like, absolutely. And they say, well, do you love your job? Do you love your career? And I was like, I like what I do. And they basically said, think about what you just said. And I like what I do. And they're like, you don't love it. Like you may be passionate about it, but you want to go through life. Hey, you got to be smart. I'm not going to say, oh, I want to be a surgeon tomorrow because there's no absolute way I could be a surgeon. But I took what I had 20 plus years of experience in, and I've seen other people successful who basically did it because they took the risk. And most people are just afraid to take that leap. And for what I would tell people is plan it out, what you want to do. Don't be afraid to take that leap.
I think that is excellent insights, and thank you. It's great reinforcement. Family first is what I say, but I can
Yep.
honestly say that in my youth, I had things a little bit upside down. As much as I love my wife and my family, too much focus on the financial and hierarchical aspirations versus what was really important. So I take your words to heart. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Any other final thoughts or words?
Thank you for having me on the show today. It's been a pleasure. And this is something, again, we could have gone hours on innovation like we did
Yes,
when we had that first
yes, we
call.
could.
That was great. That was great. So
I would have to do another podcast specifically around innovation.
yeah, no, it's been a pleasure. And this is something I just love talking business, life. I enjoy talking to people. So it's something that I'm passionate about.
Well, thank you so much, Chris, for being here. And I want to thank you all for joining us today. And a special thank you one more time to our phenomenal guest, Chris Seveney, for sharing his insights, experiences, and success tactics with us. We hope this conversation has left you inspired and motivated to embrace the challenges of entrepreneurship with vigor, innovation, and adaptability. Remember, success comes in many forms, and it's essential to define it for yourself. Take the lessons shared by Chris to heart as you navigate your own entrepreneurial journey. Embrace change, seek out opportunities for growth, and always be willing to adapt the ever-evolving landscape of business. Thank you once again to our incredible guest speaker, Chris Seveney, and thank you all for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next time as we continue exploring the stories behind incredible entrepreneurs. Stay resilient and stay innovative. Have a wonderful week, everyone.